All righty. Now we're in business. All right, let me gather myself again. Okay, start over, Amy. Thank you for joining me live from the grooming table. I'm sorry. Thank you for joining me live from my living room. That's right, guys. Did I say that right? Yes, I did. Tonight we are going live from my living room. And there's a reason for that. We're not going to be live from the grooming table because tonight I'm reaching out to you not only as a professional pet groomer, but as a pet owner myself, because I am just like you and a friend. So we're going to sit on the couch and talk tonight. I am a certified professional pet groomer, Amy Lee, and it is absolutely my pleasure to share with you the secrets of the pet grooming industry so you can provide quality care for your beloved pets at home. That's what we do every Monday at 5:30, and that's what we're going to do tonight. We're sharing some pretty good stuff tonight. All right, now listen, this video is kicking off a series of episodes concerning your pet's health and the unspoken skin and coat issues that brushing, bathing, and grooming your dog can't fix. There are issues that grooming your dog can't fix. We're going to talk about that. That sounds complicated, doesn't it? It is not. It really isn't. Actually, it's very simple, and more pet professionals should be educating their clients on this very subject that we're going to discuss right here tonight, guys. Okay? Our topic for this live stream is grooming your dog's health with food. Harmful feeding practices to avoid with your pet. There are feeding practices that can be harming your pet. We're going to talk about them. They're things that we often overlook, but not anymore. So whether you feed your dog a raw diet, fresh food, or kibble, we're going to talk about that. All these rules apply tonight, guys, okay? There are things that you need to know and procedures to follow that you may be unfamiliar with, and I promise to deliver an abundance of information for you and your pets tonight that you will not want to miss this, guys. I'm telling you, this is going to be good stuff. You'll be like, who would have thunk that? Things that you didn't know that could be risking your dog's health. We're going to talk about that. What kind of things are we talking about here? Well, things such as, does pet food expire? And does it become toxic to your pet if you continue to feed them outdated or stale food? That's a real good question, isn't it? We're going to talk about it. Should you wash your pet's food bowls every day? Food and water bowls. Should you be washing them every day? We're going to talk about that. We will discuss the fact that pet food is overloaded with carbohydrates and starches, which turns into unnecessary sugars in our dog's body. That can encourage skin problems, ear problems, other infections. So we will be talking about that too. So here's a question that we want to know. Why does the pet food industry put this junk, like loaded with sugars, carbs, and starches? Why do they put this in our pets' foods? Hoping that we don't read the labels on the back of the food? They so beautifully package with pictures of fresh meat, grains, vegetables. Oh, the packaging looks so nice. The truth is, most pet food doesn't even contain any of the ingredients pictured on the front of the bag. It's a lie, and it needs to stop. That's sad, isn't it? So, here's another thing. I can't wait till we jump on this little topic. Can purchasing large bags of dog food be a wrong choice for your pet? Buying in bulk is intended to save you money, but in reality, it could cost you money in the long run. How's that possible? Well, we're going to talk about that. Are you storing your pet's food properly? That's another question we need to touch on. Is there a right and a wrong way to store your pet's food? Yes, there is. I'm going to lay it all out there for you tonight, my friends, so definitely stay put. It's going to be good. One of my goals here on my YouTube channel is to bring a new voice to the pet grooming industry, one that includes pet owners as valuable consumers and not just professional pet groomers. And together, we've been doing such an awesome job right here on Go Groomer of adding a voice to a large amount of people out there, which are pet owners, who really haven't been considered as much in the consumer space as they should be, in my opinion. So we're doing great things here on the channel, guys. We're educating ourselves. We're becoming better together. But as we all are pet owners, including groomers, trainers, veterinarians, we need to come to terms with the fact that what we feed our pets is actually grooming their overall health and possibly causing skin and coat issues that could be avoided through a better food plan for our beloved pets. So let's dive right into that tonight and talk about the importance of our pet's meal plan. That's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to talk about how food can have a major issue on our dog's overall health. And I'm just going to say hello to everybody and welcome everybody live from the grooming table. I'm glad you're all here. It looks like the sound is working good, right? Sometimes I have a mess up. There was already a problem getting out of the gate with this live stream. It gave me the wrong stream key, so all the metadata that I had put in for my live stream is not in the description right now, but it will be after we go live. I'm going to go and update it because there's some important links that I want to share with you guys tonight in the description of this video. So you will be wanting to refer to them because we're going to continue our education tonight even after we're done meeting here. So, mistake number one when we're talking about can we groom our dog's health with pet food, and do we have any bad practices with what we're doing in feeding our pets at home? Yes, we possibly do. So what in the world is going on here? Hang on, guys. This just never fails. I need some music. I turned everything off. I don't know what happened. Okay, let's talk about mistake number one. Pet food does expire. That's something people don't realize. And it can become toxic to your pet if you continue to feed them outdated or stale food. Now listen to this. This is interesting. Expiration dates on the bag states 2 years. Will not expire within 2 years. But understand that means if the bag is unopened. That's important. I didn't realize this. I started doing a lot of research about pet food because I see all the health issues that our dogs are suffering from, and I really think a lot of it falls on deaf ears, really, that it's stuff that we just didn't realize. Now listen, once you open your pet's dog food bag, air and light hits the food and it starts to expire as it's opened. So therefore, don't buy your pet's food in bulk. You know how you buy those big 50-pound bags because they're like, hey, look, we make it in 50-pound bags. We can save you money. Well, yeah, they can, but really after 2 weeks, you should be throwing it out anyway because it is not good anymore. So one thing you could do is store it in the refrigerator to maintain freshness, and that wouldn't compromise the integrity of the food. But if we're talking about a 50-pound bag, that's kind of hard to do, store it in the refrigerator, right? Unless we separate it into multiple bags. But once air and light hits that food, once we break the seal on that bag, we are definitely compromising the integrity of the food. I want you guys to know that. It's something that's overlooked. Storing your pet's food in bins, we all do that. Storing in bins often leads to never completely emptying the bottom of the food bin and pouring new food on top of old food. That old food becomes stale, starts to actually can mold. It just, these are terrible problems that's going to produce on your dog if they're eating it. So really buying in bulk is not a good idea, guys. And I'm glad we're talking about it tonight because I've always bought in bulk, especially since oftentimes I have 3 dogs at a time. So instead of going back to the store every week, I'm like, well, I'll just buy the bigger bag. That's what we think, right? Yeah, so storing your dog food bins or their bags in a garage or basement that has a higher moisture level can definitely lead to the growth of mold on your pet's food. Ooh, that's scary, isn't it? You may not be able to see this process, but it can be deadly to your dog. So you may not notice that it's there, but it's there. It's not always visible. So let me ask you this. Has your pet ever become very sick and required emergency vet care and treatment that your vet couldn't determine what caused your pet to become so ill? Often that could be just the pet food going bad. Certain pet foods contain stuff like fish oils, and certain ingredients that are in some pet foods tend to go bad quicker than others. One of the telltale features that your food may be going bad is if you smell the bag, it may smell kind of like paint thinner or something foul like that, and that's a sign that it's turning bad, it's going bad. And you don't want that for your dog. Bad food can absolutely be the culprit of a lot of our emergency vet visits, and we're not realizing that, guys. So listen, throw your questions in the chat so that we can all be part of this conversation, because I want to get chatty about it. We all have so much information to offer each other and to share when we get together here every Monday at 5:30. So that's what we're doing. Let's talk about mistake number 2. Should you wash your pet's food bowls and their water bowls every day? You absolutely should wash your pet's food and water bowls every day. After every meal you serve your pet. This is something often overlooked and unintentionally overlooked by us pet owners. But it's important, because by not washing your pet's food and water bowls, bacteria and other harmful elements can start to grow in those bowls, inviting bad things into your pet's system when they ingest it. So big thing there, guys, to think about, okay? Now, I will have all this information in the description of this video after we're live, because for some reason my live stream key did not come through properly for me, and I do have to go and re-enter my metadata, but I have it in a file. So when we're done with the live stream, I'm going to put all this information in the description of the video so you guys can go back and read it and look at it and do research. That's the important thing. Mistake number 3. Is that where we're at? Yes. Mistake number 3. This is another one. And then we're just going to get chatty on this subject, guys. Pet food that is loaded with carbohydrates and starches, which turns into unnecessary sugar in your dog's body. Carbohydrates and starches. This abundance of sugar can encourage skin problems. It can encourage ear problems and other infections, as well as set your pet up for failure in future health problems, such as diabetes. That's another one that's become very common in our pets that didn't used to be so common. So you have to ask yourself, what are we feeding our dogs? What are we doing? Is some of it is genetic, possibly? Some of it could be the food. What we put in our pets' feeding bowls is intended to help them maintain a healthy existence, set them up for longevity as they age and move through the upcoming stages of their lives. But the truth is, what we choose to feed our dogs... Oh, I just lost myself. What we choose to feed our pets has the power to either heal or harm our pets. And we need to focus on that. With what we put in the food bowls, guys, it's very important. Our pets require a nutritionally, biologically appropriate, moisture-rich, balanced diet that is high in protein and low in carbohydrates, fillers, and byproducts. Now, we're going to educate ourselves, don't worry, because this is the first of a series of videos. Remember, I told you that. We're diving deep into what we feed our pets and how it can affect their overall health. And we'll talk about some of those issues that we see when we feed our pets bad food that we didn't know was bad. That's the thing. We're educating ourselves here. There is no this is important. I feel very strongly about this. There is no bag of kibble. There's no bag of kibble that can provide this to our pets, my friends. No one bag, not one bag. Not one bag of kibble can provide a biologically appropriate, healthy, balanced, low carbohydrate diet. Not one bag of kibble. That's interesting, isn't it? Kibble requires heavy amounts of starches to bind the food together, or it would just be crumbled up into dust in the bag. So it has to have those starches to hold it together. But guys, we're not dummies here. We know what starch is. Starch breaks down in carbohydrates, sugar, just glucose, overload, right? That's how kibble food is held together. It has to have that binding ingredient. And if you trade in one carbohydrate for another, like say grain-free, there for a while that was the thing. It was like, well, we have to switch over to grain-free pet food because It doesn't use, like potatoes and other carbohydrates that the dog isn't designed to digest. So they started using carbohydrates from peas and from, other legumes, beans, stuff like that. And finding out that it still breaks down to sugar in our dog's system. So it's no better. It's no different. Grain-free, does it contain grain, whatever. It's all a carbohydrate overload, sugar overload, and we need to really focus on that, guys. Now, next week our topic, which is going to continue from this one, next week our topic for discussion is how to read the labels on our dog's pet food, and what ingredients should we avoid, what ingredients should we look for, what amount of certain ingredients do we want to say, okay, that's way too much. We're going to dive into that next week, guys, okay? I promise that it's going to make everything come together a little easier for us in understanding our pets' foods and what they need us to put in their bowls. That's important. Now, I will have 2 videos linked in the description of this video after it's live. Both are from Rodney Habib, which just does some fantabulous research, guys, okay? So the one is the rise and fall of grain-free pet food. So it's a great video. I want you to watch it. The other one is the unknown sugar in pet food. And that is in all kibble. Sugar, lots of it. Sometimes it's 50% sugar. Can you imagine? 50% sugar we're feeding our dogs. They ain't even designed to have sugar in their diet at all. At all. No wonder they have bad skin, ear infections, weepy eyes, smelly feet, bad anal glands, bad skin. No wonder, right? All right, so I'm ready to answer some questions now, because I'm sure all this poses a lot of questions for you guys, and I'm just so happy to see everybody join us. There's 72 of us. That's awesome. I love you guys. We are doing great things. I wanted to sit on my couch and talk to you guys tonight because I wanted to talk to you as a pet owner. I don't have my Go Groomer smock on today. I'm not in my Go Grooming salon, because I want you to know that I'm sitting on my couch tonight as your friend and as somebody who is like you, a pet owner. I am not a professional nutritionist, but I can do a bang up job of doing research, and that I have been doing. So I'm excited that we get together and talk about it. So that's why we're sitting on the couch together tonight, guys. So if you need a glass of tea, a glass of coffee, get some water, whatever you want to do, grab some popcorn, because we're going to get chatty. All right, so let me jump in here to my first question or comment, anything. Okay, just scrolling, and boy, this whole scene is different for me tonight because I'm using the YouTube studio, live stream studio, and I'm not sure I like it. I'm just not used to it, I guess. Okay, all right, so we got Helpful and Happy. That's a cool name. Is it okay to feed our dogs oatmeal? That's a great question. You mean like cooked oatmeal like we would eat? Oatmeal, you would think, is pretty good. It's a good source of energy for us. It does have a lot of carbohydrates, though. I want to say out of the gate, guys, from all the research I've been doing, the best filler for our pet food is actually whole rice. Rice seems to be the most natural, less abundance of sugar. So look for rice in your meals instead of, carbohydrates that would be from potatoes or from corn. That kind of stuff is not supposed to be ideal. It's not like it would, be your dog's gonna eat it, but it's not the best. It's not the best carbohydrate for them to have. Although remember, they don't really need a ton of carbohydrates. They think of them as like being on an Atkins diet. That's kind of the diet that dogs need. Low carb, high protein. They need vegetables, absolutely. They need omega fatty acids. They do have a lot of needs in their food. So the question is, can you feed your dog oatmeal? The thing with oatmeal is oatmeal actually encourages the breeding of yeast. So say your dog has a slight ear infection, or maybe you didn't even know that he did, or a slight problem with his skin. and we give them oatmeal, that oatmeal can actually boost the yeast infection, give it something to go on a little further with, you know. So you wouldn't, I would say don't do it. Stay away from oatmeal. A lot of people discourage oatmeal shampoos, which forever, you know, everybody's like, oh, if your dog's itchy, here, try this oatmeal gentle shampoo. Well, because we take oatmeal soak baths and stuff like that, but we're not dogs. They're a little different than us. So oatmeal is actually nothing that you really need to incorporate in your pet's diet, as well as their shampoos. Interesting, isn't it? All right, so good question. I'm glad you brought it up. Yes, my hair is down, Raquel. I can't stand it already. Mindy says, Amy, your hair looks lovely. Thank you, Mindy. It's all for you. See, we're all casual tonight, so I'm trying to be a little less, you know, professional. I'm professional, but I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a pet owner tonight, just like you guys, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. And anything that I can add as far as grooming goes with our dogs' skin needs, their coat issues, stuff like that, you know, I think I have a lot to bring it to the table when it comes to that. But not everything can be fixed with proper brushing, bathing, and skin and coat care for our pets, because it just started a little deeper than that. It started from the diet. The diet can really surface a lot of problems for dogs. So let's see here. Don't want to miss anybody. I'm just scrolling up here to look for some of your questions. My chat jumps around a lot, so it worries me that I'm missing things. Okay, Laura Van Leeuwen says, can you store dog food in the freezer to keep it fresh instead of in the fridge? In the freezer, boy, I'm not sure, because that's like a flash freeze. You know, like all the soft elements and stuff in dog food could possibly break down differently if it defrosted from the freezer versus if it was just, you know, sealed airtight in the refrigerator and no air or light could get to it. That's the idea of keeping it in the refrigerator, so no air and light can get to it. So I'm going to say out of the gate on that, I would not store kibble in the freezer. Obviously, I feed my dogs a raw diet. That I do store in the freezer, and then I defrost it, you know, a couple days before I'm going to feed it to them. But kibble, I think it would harm the ingredients and stuff. I think it would break down when it was defrosting. So I would say no, but do some research on that, because like I said, I'm not the expert on this, guys. I'm just bringing all this to the table and throwing it at you so that I can get you all worried and concerned. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to do that, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so Cynthia says, Amy, what about storing the dog food in a large bin? Clean the bucket with the lid. I bought the food in bulk. This is for this info is good to know. This info. Okay, I got you. All right, let me tell you a few things about that. Chat's jumping around. Okay, Cynthia, great question. So let's think of this. Let's think about like a lot of pet rescues and kennels and stuff like that. They have so many dogs that they're serving, that they're feeding every night or whatever, and they'll have these big black plastic tubs and bins, and they may wash them out periodically, but not that often, not as often as they should be. But what happens is when the food is opened from the bag and then we put it into a separate container, unless it is absolutely airtight, and that's almost impossible to do, then I would say it's at risk of going bad. Because yes, the bag has an expiration date on the bag, but that's only a shelf life. That's where it's a little misleading. That expiration date on the bag means if you open this within 2 years or whatever, you're good. You're good. But once you open it, that's different. Then it can expire, okay? So I would say that if you're storing it in a bin, I would try to change that habit. And possibly, if you're buying in bulk, If you can, put it in smaller gallon Ziploc bags and put it in a refrigerator. You definitely don't want to store your dog food in a basement that's damp and moist, or a garage that's warm and not climate controlled. Bad things can happen to our dog's food, and that's where we always used to keep our dog food. I mean, typically, guys, right? These are things that, why hasn't anybody been telling us this? Other pet professionals or veterinarians, just nutritionists. Why haven't I heard this? Why hasn't this been pounding down my throat so that I knew? Because I used to do all these things, guys, just like some of you may be doing. And that's why we're talking about it tonight, because I just don't know why it's not all over the bags of dog food, how to properly store your dog food. You know what I'm saying? So let me look for another question here. And King of Aliens says, I have my coffee, I'm all good. That's right. I'm glad to see that. Let's get comfy. All right. Elsie says brown rice, which has the bran fiber. White rice is pure carbs. Yes, it is. The brown rice is better. Also, white rice can be bleached, so it's enriched. It's altered. Anytime you can avoid anything that's enriched, you should definitely avoid that. So let's see here. Kathleen says, what type of brown rice or white rice? I'd go with brown. Definitely would go with brown rice. And that's one of the best grains that we could put, especially if you're cooking for your dog. But if you're reading the labels of your dog's dog food, that's the carbohydrate source I would tend to lean towards, just from everything, all the research I've done, is rice. Rice would be better than corn or other form, like pea flour. All this stuff is just really, really loaded with carbs and breaks down to sugar and really throws your dog's system off over time. Doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow thing, and to a point where you could be like, something's wrong with my dog and I don't know what it is. Terry Stein, I got your card, honey. I wanted to tell you, I'm pretty sure that was you that sent it, because I don't have it in front of me. I should have brought it with me. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that. You didn't have to do that, but you are very thoughtful. And I hope that we're doing good things together. That's why we get together. So no worries. But thank you so much. Terry says, you really have to know your breed, since some are predisposed to have skin issues. It's very true, i.e. Westies, if they are fed certain foods. Golden Retrievers are predisposed a lot too to certain things that food can definitely encourage them to have other problems. Believe it or not, food can encourage your dog to have ear problems, obviously skin problems, whether that's dryness, flakiness, itchiness. That can all stem from food. And some dogs are more tolerant than others, just like people. Some dogs, you can feed dog A this diet and dog B the same diet, and dog B just has these terrible problems with his skin, with his anal glands. Dog A doesn't have any of these problems. So a lot of the time, it's genetics. If the dog has strong genetics, that certainly comes into play. But the food can definitely spark issues with our dogs. Janelle says, how much do you freeze at a time? Do I need to buy a little freezer just for storing their food? I will if I have to. Good job, Janelle. Well, freeze only if it's raw food or cooked food. You can freeze that. I wouldn't freeze kibble, because like I said, I think kibble would break down differently when it was defrosted. We got a super chat from Prinny. Oh my God, just want to thank you for all you do. Well, I want to thank you for being here, Prinny. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. We're doing great things together. I'm glad you're here, and I really appreciate the support. I really do. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Awesome. You guys are just too awesome. Now, let me see here what else we're talking about. Ooh, my chat's jumping around. I don't want to miss anybody's questions. Can you store dog food in the freezer? Okay, got that one, got that one, got that one. Crazy Frog says, it amazes me that it isn't common knowledge. The dog food bag's starting to expire after opening and washing the bowl. You know, it's just logical. Yeah, it is, but people don't talk about it. You know, we go to our dogs' checkups. You know, we go to the vets, and when do they ever say, you know, hey, just make sure you're keeping a nice, clean, sanitary eating area for your dogs? Because yes, dogs have a very strong, healthy gut. They can fight off things that we can't. They can fight off bacteria. They have bacteria blockers in their guts. So they have, so to speak, they have iron stomachs, sort of, but only to a certain degree, you know. And then stuff's gonna is just gonna be a problem. Raquel says, is canned wet food just as bad as kibble? It is as far as sugar, but it's actually better than kibble. One thing about canned wet food is it can just produce too much of a loose stool if it's not well balanced. Meaning if it is kind of crap food and has too much sugars in it and it's not producing a good stool, then your dog could have problems with their anal glands. And that's another thing you don't want. That if your dogs are having problems with their anal glands, that tells you something is a problem, and it's most likely food related. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there is a problem with their anal glands becoming impacted, or it could be a genetic problem, but most of the time it's food related, okay? And it's very important that we know that. So it depends on what kind of canned food, Raquel, that you're feeding. And yes, it's better than kibble, unless it's just complete junky Alpo. You know, I mean, there's some good canned foods out there. There's also some good raw diets that you can buy, you know, that are in your refrigerated section. Now their expiration dates are much tighter and closer than kibble, for sure. Okay, so let me see here about some more questions for you guys. I don't want to miss that. Okay, Cindy says, is there really a difference in puppy versus adult food and major brands that's necessary? If you go with raw, what should be done differently for puppies, adults? What age is a puppy, adult? Wow, super awesome questions you got there. All right, let me dissect that a little bit. Let me get it up here so I can see it. Is there a difference between puppy and adult food first? Yes, there is. Typically, the difference in puppy food is, one, it has more calories. Just like if you had a female dog who was pregnant, she needs more calories. So if you do have a female dog that's pregnant, or if you are going to breed your dog, then make sure she's getting an up in her calorie level, because she needs that. Her body's working harder. Same with puppies. They're growing fast and rapid, so they need those extra calories. So that's what it is. It's not just calories, though, that's in puppy food, guys. There's also other things that are supposed to be in there for, you know, encouraging better growth and bone structure, stronger bones, you know, because the puppy is building all this as they're growing. So what we feed our puppies is very, very important. The next question is from the same question is, if you go with raw, what should be done differently for puppies? That you would definitely want to look into. I'm a raw feeder, but I don't feed a puppy right now, and I know there are differences and things that you want to make sure you're giving that puppy. So there again, guys, Rodney Habib's YouTube channel is very informative. Same with Kimberly from Keep the Tail Wagging. Very informative. That is all their sites are about, is feeding your dogs good food. So Keep the Tail Wagging is one you should check out, a YouTube channel, as well as Rodney Habib's YouTube channel about food questions. And you can email them too. You can put a comment in a video if you have a question about food, you know, they care. That's why they do what they do. But you were right in asking that. Is there difference in the way we feed our puppies and adults, whether it's kibble or raw or what? Yes, there is. The puppies need more calories as well as other things to begin their growth patterns, you know. What age is a puppy and what age is an adult? Puppies are considered, if I'm right, am I right? About 15 months old, 2 years, then they're considered to be done growing. 15, no, I'm sorry, I didn't say 15 months. I said that wrong. 1.5 years old to 2 years old. That's considered getting into adulthood. And let's see if we have another question here. I do see some. Okay. Oh, where are we going here? Janelle, got you, honey. Marlo. Hello, Marlo. How's Teddy? All right. So Marlo says, how about sharing our food with our pets? If so, what would be good to avoid or okay to share? That's a great question. You know, we've always heard, you know, especially in the last decade, don't feed your dog table scraps. Don't feed them what we eat, you know, from the table. And yeah, some things, no. You know, like ice cream, cereal, cookies, candy, chocolate, pasta, pork. There's all kinds of things that are not good for dogs to eat that we eat. But if you're going to cook for your dog, and a lot of people do, Marlo, do some research on that. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there that will help you, that know what they're talking about. There's YouTube channels, there's websites about cooking for your dog that specifically will line out recipes for you. Dr. Karen Becker has a lot of information on her YouTube channel for recipes for either feeding raw or cooking for your dog. And those are good resources for you to look for, okay? So yeah, they can eat some things. It just has to be the right amount, and they can't just have potatoes and rice or chicken and rice. They need more than that. You know, they need nutrients. So it's important to research those recipes and not just assume that, you know, we're doing it right. Janelle says, I keep buying a bin just for one bag. I wash it out real good after each bag. Still not good? Question mark. I don't know, honey. And it depends on how fast you're going through that food. So if you keep it in a bin, but you've got 2 big dogs and you're going through it every 2 weeks, you're probably okay. And here's another suggestion, guys. Smell your dog when you open the bag to feed your dog every day. Smell the food. Smell the bag, and it's probably not going to smell that good to you, but just so you know that anything you smell in that bag has been added for your scent, not the dog's. Like bacon flavor, if it smells like smoked bacon or smoked pork chops, that's because the food manufacturers put that on the food so the humans think it smells good. And no, my dog's going to love this. Let's face it, our dogs eat cat litter right out of the box. Cat poop doesn't smell good. Our dogs eat rabbit poop in the yard. That doesn't smell good, but it does to them. So the smelling and the bacon flavored and bone shapes of the food and stuff that our kibble's made up of is all for us to fool us into thinking we're giving our dogs something really good. It's not, the dog doesn't care if it's shaped like a bone. The dog doesn't care if it fake smells like bacon. I mean, the dog would love to have a piece of bacon, but that's not what's making that food smell like bacon. It's artificial flavors that's making it smell like bacon. So we think it smells good. We're not the ones eating it. This is terrible, isn't it? So, now I just lost my mind. If you have a big dog, Janelle, and you're going through your food pretty quickly, you know, you might be okay, but I wanted you guys to know, I wanted you to make sure you smell your dog's food regularly every time you go to feed your dog. So you'll notice a change in the way it smells. That means something's starting to get yucky, and you should probably consider getting rid of it. And that's why I tell you, maybe try not buying in bulk, because I don't want you to waste your money. They sell it in bulk thinking that we think we're saving money, and they're assuming that we're so lazy that we have to have a 50-pound bag of dog food, or we wouldn't dare, go twice a month and buy dog food for our dog. Of course we would. We go to the store for ourselves 3 or 4 times a week. We care about our dogs. They need to stop assuming that they think they know what we want. We want what's best for our pets. That's what we want. Okay, pet food manufacturers? We want what's best for our pets. Period. Stop thinking we're stupid. All right, rant over. I'm sorry, guys, but it's just there's so much bad going on. Tiffany says, is it better to use glass bowls instead of stainless? Stainless bowls to avoid tear stains. I've heard about that. What is the best type of bowls for pet feeding? Well, obviously they say, like ceramic bowls are good. Stainless bowls are highly encouraged because they're very easy to sanitize. The things won't stick to them, particles of food that you don't see. It's easier to clean them off of stainless, and I think that's why it's suggested and highly recommended that we use stainless, but ceramic is fine too. Terry, it was you, wasn't it? You are such a sweetheart. I'm gonna give you a hug. I really appreciate it. She sent me a card and she sent me a money order to show her appreciation, and I really appreciate it. But she wrote some fabulous things in that card, and I will always keep it. I keep everything you guys send me. Any cards, anything you guys send me, I keep them. They mean a lot to me. It gives me motivation to keep doing this for you, and it reminds me that we're together. And I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you, Terry. You're all very kind. Cindy said, skipped again. I'm sorry. You know how I am, Cindy. Skipped again. I have a 1-year-old and 3-year-old. Should they be fed different foods, i.e. puppy versus adult? 1-year-old and 3-year-old. Most likely, yes, Cindy. I would feed, depending on what breed it is, 1 year old, I think I still would keep on a little bit more of a higher calorie than the 3-year-old, even if you maybe added a little bit of fresh food to the 1-year-old's food to give them that boost of calories and a few extra goodies. It wouldn't hurt because they need that when they're young. When it gets to be about 1.5 to 2 years old, I'd say we can stop treating it and feeding it like a puppy, right? Okay, Raquel, I got your question. Thank you, our favorite groomer. That's Patty. Thank you, Patty. I wore my hair down for you guys tonight, so you could feel like it's something different. All right, so I have another question here. I'm having a hard time finding a good vet that recognizes raw, fresh food as better than kibble. Donna, you're not alone. Honest to God, okay? So keep looking. They're out there. Most vets, they just don't really get involved in diet. And if they say, we did some blood work, your dog's liver functions are elevated or whatever, so we're going to recommend that you put them on this special diet kibble for liver and kidney functions. You know why? Because that's just textbook. That's what they do. They say, if the kidney and the liver functions are high and they're elevated, prescribe a prescribed diet for the dog, especially prescribed prescription diet. And that's just so textbook. So, Donna, it's hard to find a vet. My vet, I don't even know if I've told him I feed raw. You know why? For one thing, he doesn't ask me what I feed my dog, and I have a problem with that. I think they should ask, shouldn't they? So he doesn't ask me. And secondly, I know that he's going to say, well, I have a whole closet out here of science diet, and that's what you should feed your dog. Well, of course it is. But I'm sorry, I wouldn't dare feed my dog that shit. I wouldn't. No, thank you. So I am very happy feeding my dogs a raw diet, and I hope that I can continue to do that. God love my husband, with him supporting me, my mom supporting this. We do this together to do this for my dogs, our dogs. I don't think I could do it without them, because it's so much work and it's so much commitment, and you really got to be hustling to prepare these meals. We bang it out, try to do a month's worth of food that we can freeze. And I need a team. I need my husband and my mom for that. I thank you guys both for that, and so do our dogs. So don't worry about the vet, honey, with diet. If you really need, Donna, if you're really interested in getting a professional opinion about nutrition, then look for a canine nutritionist. Those people are out there. I mean, and they studied it. Maybe they actually have a degree. That would be even better. That means they know what is biologically appropriate for a canine. And it's important that anybody that gives us advice on how we should feed our dogs really is educated in what's biologically appropriate for a canine species to eat. And I'm sorry, but most of our vets just they don't go that far, and nor should they. And but they should also stay out of it. They should keep their opinion out of it if they're not 100% sure either way what's best, because it's not fair to us and it's not fair to our pets, because we trust our vets. Like I'm telling you guys tonight, I'm a professional pet groomer. I'm not a professional dog nutritionist, and I want you to know that. But I do really, really care what I put in my dog's food bowls, and I do a lot of research and study, and I'm constantly trying to improve their diet. I probably don't have it nailed right now, I think I do, but you watch. In a month, I'll say, I think I've been depriving them of this because I've read about this, and I might want to try to add a little bit of this in their diet now. It's going to change, just like we change our diets. We realize something that's really good for them. All right, Dabina says, I tried that recipe that was posted on the Go Groomer Facebook page. I was wondering if there was a different kind of oil I could use other than the hemp seed oil. You can use flaxseed. I know I don't use hemp seed oil either, honey, but I do add flaxseed, milled, ground flaxseed. You can buy it on Amazon. I will link it in the description of this video after it's live. Flaxseed really helps to balance out the fiber in our dog's diet too, guys. So I think it's a really good additive if we're cooking for our dogs or if we're feeding raw, to use milled ground flaxseed and use it appropriate. I mean, I think it's a tablespoon per 40 pounds of dog. All this information is out there online. And in fact, this information about flaxseed is in the description of last week's live stream, which was about anal glands. Okay, so you can find that information there too. Raquel says, I add some kibble to the canned wet food. I think that's a good idea, Raquel, because I just think it might help balance it out a little bit better. You certainly don't want him to have any problems, with his bowels or anything. I'm not saying that all canned food is going to cause problems with bowels, because that's not true. I think that's another misconception that we have too, guys. Here's a question from Jana Whittington, my cousin. Jana says, I just washed my dog's dishes. Step 1. Do you have any opinions about Farmer's Dog? Yeah, I think it looks like a great option for feeding. I am currently, guys, that I am trying the Ollie pet food, which is fresh whole food. It's cooked. It's not raw. I'm trying that for you guys. I am perfectly happy feeding my dogs raw. And to be honest with you, if you ask me today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now, what I feel is the best thing to feed our pets, I will always tell you a raw, biologically balanced, appropriate diet for your dog. That's my opinion. And I'm testing the Ollie pet food on my raw feeders, so I can see if I would recommend it for you guys, because I realize a lot of you there's no way you could jump into the raw feeding. Some people just can't do it, so I want to compare raw feeding prices and benefits to the Ollie pet food. Now the Farmer's Dog, I hear that, and Num Num or an Ollie pet food are the 3 top recommended. They've gotten a lot of recognition in the industry. So I think Farmer's Dog is definitely worth looking into, Jana, and comparing that with Num Num and Ollie Pet Food. If you were going to make a decision on something like that that was delivered to your door. So let me see here. Oh boy, my chat just jumped up. Oh my goodness, Marlo! I so appreciate you. Teddy gets his bath this week. You are crazy, Marlo. Thank you so much. This is for you, for Teddy, and for your brother. I love you guys. I hope you're all watching. Thank you very much, my friends. Oh, you guys are great. Okay. Now, I'm losing my mind here. You guys get me all wound up. My chat jumped up here. I was trying to follow where I left off with questions. Tap water or bottled water, Mindy says. Sorry, Mindy, I had missed that. Tap water or bottled water? I'm trying to get my chat to stop jumping around. Depends on your tap water. We have well water here, and we've had our water tested, and it seems to be good water. So yeah, I think if you know your water's good, if you've had it tested, then I'd say safe to go with that. Oh my goodness, Janelle. I want to talk to you for answering questions. I want to thank you for answering questions. Oh my God. We can tell you really care. My Mondays are all about you. Oh, God. Thank you, Janelle. My Mondays are all about you too. All of you. Here's a super chat. You're getting a salute. I do care about you and your pets. Everybody. My pets. And I know you care about my pets and me. You know, we're helping each other. That's what we're doing. And it's awesome. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Now, let me see. Bottled can water, bottled or well water, whatever. If you're really worried about it, honey, you can use bottled water, but I don't. Our water's good. We've had it tested. I drink our well water too, or otherwise I wouldn't give it to my dogs. But so far I haven't seen any issues or reasons why I shouldn't. So I do give them our well water. Let me just look for another question here, Donna. I'm having a hard time finding. Okay, got that one. Dog probiotic, Mindy says. I don't know, honey. You know, stuff can get really, oh my gosh. When you're doing research on cooking for your dog or reading or raw feeding, it's scary. It almost scares people away from doing it. And it almost scared me away from doing it. Because people are like, oh, this is great. And then you listen to advice from another professional or another raw feeder, and they say, oh my gosh, if you don't give your dog this probiotic, forget it. You know, and then others say, don't do it. You're going to affect what's naturally going on in their stomach. Mindy, I say do your own research. Do your research, and don't put so much importance on what everybody else is telling you, because it will scare you out of doing the right thing, you know? And I don't want you guys to be afraid to feed your dogs the right thing, which is cooked food or raw food, as long as it's prepared properly and it's a balanced diet for them. That's important. All right, so let me see here. Jana, I got yours. Jana, I just washed my dog's stuff. Okay, got that. Angelina says, not food related, but if I'm not going to breed my dog, should he be fixed? Or is it okay to keep a dog intact? Well, of course, it depends on who you ask, Angelina. But since you're asking me, I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is it is always best to spay and neuter our dogs. I will say this. I do believe that our vets, a lot of our vets, are pushing us to spay and neuter our pets way too young. 4 months old, 6 months old. I think that's too young. Now, remember, I'm giving you my opinion. There are some breeders out there that will tell you, don't ever fix your dog, never neuter your dog or spay your dog. So my opinion is this: wait until your dog is around 9 months to a year old. You want them to develop certain things. They're still growing. Remember, they're growing like the first 2 years of their life. If you can wait till 2 years old, and hopefully they don't develop bad habits, and you have to stay on top of that. Along with that comes training to, for them to be a well-mannered, intact male. It's very important. But no, I firmly believe in spaying and neutering for their health, to stop the reproduction of dogs and the abundance of dogs being given up and mistreated and not cared for and neglected. Definitely spay and neuter is important to me. So that's my opinion, honey, okay? I would wait. If you can wait 2 years to spay or neuter a dog, I think it's got its major health benefits to do so, but I wouldn't wait any longer than that. Okay, so I'm glad you asked that, though. That's a good question. Really good. Okay, let me just see here, guys. There's another question from Janelle. Oh, where did it go? Okay. When feeding raw, do we still use kibble? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. I always say that, don't I? Do we transition from store-bought to raw? Okay, when transitioning your dog from one food to another, whether it's just kibble, you definitely have to mix them up. So you want to still feed a portion of what you were feeding the dog and a portion of the new kibble. And that mainly goes for when feeding kibble, because kibble, your dogs, it takes so much for them to get used to kibble, their stomach, their system, and you throw another formula of kibble in there, and it can upset their stomach and their bowels. They're very sensitive to kibble because I think kibble is very hard for dogs to digest. I really do. So if you're going to go from kibble to raw, what I would do is not add them both in the same meal. I would give your dog the breakfast meal as kibble and the evening meal, which would be half of the amount. You're feeding half and half. Now remember, there's different ratios for raw feeding than there is for feeding a dog kibble. So you definitely would have to do your research as to what size dog you have, the age, the activity level, and how much raw food you should be feeding them. So, I feed my dogs twice a day, whether that was kibble or now raw food. Now Ollie pet food that we're feeding now. But so you definitely want to give them, their daily amount, split it in half. One feeding can be kibble, the other can be raw. See how it goes. Tomorrow, the next one, the morning food is kibble, the evening food is raw. Give it a couple days. If you see everything going nicely, then maybe start backing down the kibble feedings, try to do raw for one whole day, and then the next day maybe add a little kibble, not to the raw, but to the breakfast feeding, and then the raw food. You have to wean them into it just to see how they're going to do, because here's the thing with dogs. Food moves so quickly through dogs' digestive systems. It's just the way it's designed. Food goes in and it goes out real quick. That's also part of the reasons why they don't get sick like we do. When dogs eat, they pass things through their system quickly, and that's because they were made to eat nasty stuff, whatever they could find. Their stomachs are designed to take that. So with them, the way they're designed to eat, food goes in quickly and it goes out quickly so that it doesn't sit and cause a problem. If our dogs do get diarrhea because something upset them, I want you guys to know that it doesn't take long at all for a dog who has diarrhea to really, really badly dehydrate. So if your dog has diarrhea for maybe a half a day and you're seeing it just continuing really bad, not getting better, getting worse, think about going to see the vet, because a dog can dehydrate so fast, and it can kill a dog. It really can. It can be very serious. The vets can give them something to stop the diarrhea. As soon as my dogs get an upset stomach, whether it's throwing up or diarrhea or both, I hold off all their normal food. So whether that would be kibble or raw food, I do not feed them that. I boil turkey burger with rice and add pumpkin to it. And after it's completely cooled, that's what I feed them. And the pumpkin and the rice and the turkey burger, especially the pumpkin, definitely helps firm up them stools. And I can honestly tell you, I've done this several times, not just for Big Gus. I've done this for past dogs that I've had. and it really does stop that diarrhea and get them back on track. Then you'll want to keep them on that for several days, because their system is tough, but once it gets thrown off, it really gets thrown off. It kind of has to be babied back to life, so to speak. So if you want to try raw, kibble and raw, not in the same feeding. Just remember that. Try to separate the two. Feed either raw or kibble during the feedings, okay? Angelina says, my dog has terrible tear stains all the time. A lot of breeds do. Could this be related to his diet? Is Tropiclean Spa the best facial scrub? I think Tropiclean Spa is the best facial scrub on the market. I do not think it will remove tear stains. Remember, think of tear stains like, wood stain. Once it's stained, it's stained. You can't unstain it. There's no way. So I do think diet can cause staining. I also think genetics can cause staining. You can have two Maltese, both from, different breeders or the same breeders. One could tear stain badly and the other may not. On the same diet, they may eat the same food. They may drink the same water. So sometimes I can clearly see genetics come into play. And other times I would say, yes, food can definitely change that. One of our subscribers and friends here, Mary Posa, Grace T, she changed that with her Shih Tzu by cooking for her Shih Tzu. Chloe, her name is. And she sent me pictures. I'll show you next week, guys. I'll show you the before and after, just so you understand. And that was all done with her meticulously researching a diet to cook for Chloe. And it took about 6 weeks or longer till she saw those tear stains go away. And basically they have to grow out. And as the dog's hair is growing, it doesn't stain anymore because she corrected that. So I think, yes, diet has a lot to do with the tear stains we see on our dogs, and sometimes it's genetics. Donna says, the vets have a share or they are in part with Science Diet. Yes, they do. I know that. So of course they want to push it. At least that's the way it is in Canada. Now, that's the way it is here too, Donna. Absolutely. Science Diet is heavily pushed, and let's face it, it was one of the biggest recalls in the pet food industry. No way would I. No, it's not worth all that money. No way. Yeah, the vets definitely get deals on it. So, they just think, here, it's supposed to be good. Yes, it is supposed to be good, but it's not. Do your homework, What exactly do you put in the bowls of your food, like a good starter recipe? Okay, Janelle, I did just share that this week because a lot of people were asking me. Earlier in the week, I shared that on my live stream story. My story on YouTube. I can do stories, like Instagram stories, but it was through YouTube. And I showed you guys what I feed the dogs. Now, obviously, both of them get a different proportion of food because one weighs 41 pounds and the other one weighs 65 pounds. So they don't get the same amount. But right now I have whole chicken legs and thighs ground up with the bone in it. Organ meat is ground in there, which is chicken hearts and chicken gizzards. We ground that up, then we ground that again through a second run in with the bone and chicken. And the skin, I do not take the skin off. Dogs need some fat in their diet. It's calories. It's good calories. It's positive fat. So then I feed them a can of sardines in water, which is really good for them. Omega fatty acids, very good for them. I feed them about 20% vegetables. 20% of what I'm feeding them is vegetables, and those are usually cooked carrots. And you can feed dogs raw vegetation. I just choose to, for money's sake, saving money, I give them no salt, no sugars added vegetables and rinse them heavily. Carrots, beets, a mixture, peas, carrots, that kind of stuff, broccoli. And that's what I feed them. I give them a little dash, tablespoon of turmeric, cinnamon, and black pepper. That's all little recipe thing I have. and a tablespoon of flaxseed, and I think, oh, and 1 egg with the shell. That's what I feed them. That's what I feed my dogs. And that's what I have come up with through research that I'm comfortable feeding them right now. I may change that recipe. That's why, don't let somebody tell you what to do. You have to do the research, guys. You have to do it. That way you're fully invested in what you're putting in your dog's bowl. You're really, really, keen on what you're choosing to put in your dog's bowl. Okay, it's really important. Jill says, I was nervous about raw feeding at first and still think it's kind of gross. It is kind of gross, but I try not to think about it. But I don't think I'll ever feed canned or kibble again. And Jill, I don't think I will either. So I'm right there with you, friend. I mean, I know it's a pain, but I'm getting comfortable with it. I'm getting confident about it. And the more I know about the risks with pet food, and even just pet food going bad and us not knowing it's bad, it's scary. I like the raw food because it's 100% whole food. Nothing is processed. Nothing has salt cured additives or preservatives or fake flavors, fake coloring. It's nothing. There's none of that in there. And that's just really important to me. Cindy says, what you can and can't feed dogs changes so much. It does. I fed my German Shepherd and Pit Lab garlic and onions. Yeah, now they say neither one of those. No problem. No pork. Yeah, I've heard about that too. And now they say garlic and onion is bad. Pork is okay. Pasta is very good. I don't feed them pasta. That's just carbs. I don't give them any pasta. I wouldn't. That's just my opinion. But yeah, you're right about the onions and the garlic. They say no, that's not bad. That's not good for them. Oh, I don't know why, Laura, that just took your question away. I was going to answer it. YouTube decides sometimes on its own. I'm sorry. Janelle says, Vegas, you better use bottled waters or else. Yeah, okay, yeah, I get you. And you know what? You're right. It depends on where you live. Would you dare give your dog your tap water or your well water? I agree 100%. So we just have to be smart about that, right? I'm excited for next week, guys. We're going to really pull apart reading the labels, what the ingredients are. There are some ingredients in dog foods that we're unaware of that we should totally be looking for to avoid because they're very, very dangerous. And it's just something that's not talked about enough. So, hi, Gus. You won't come over here, will you? He doesn't like the light. You want to come up here? Come and say hi to everybody. Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on up. Oh, come on. Oh, he's so sluggish. There he is. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you're such a silly boy. Yeah, so, there you go. I'm so glad you're joining us. Everybody misses you. Can you say hello? He's tired. He's tired. He was camping this weekend. All right, Donna says, it takes 7 hours to digest kibble. I know, isn't that crazy? And dogs, their digestive systems are very fast, aren't they? So, yeah, it's just, So my nutrition person says to feed your kibble in the morning and raw or fresh as a second meal. And it's okay to say, I can't afford to feed fresh or raw for every meal. But a little bit is better than none. I think we referenced this last week to, let's say we feed our family McDonald's every day, but 3 times a week we choose to cook a meal for them, home cooked ingredients, better than not, right? Yeah. It is better to do some than to do none. I agree. Cindy says, when is it too late to fix? 3 years old? No, it's not too late. 3-year-old Shih Tzu has not been fixed. He marks everything and he's getting kind of aggressive. Yes, they will. 3 years old, get him fixed. It's never too old to get them fixed. Plus, dogs can get like testicular cancer. Testicular cancer. So it's a good reason to have them neutered. Definitely. I would do it. Definitely do it. Tiff says, I'm a big fan of homemade raw food, But make sure you get your dog's blood work done, because you might be unintentionally missing something crucial and it could be too late. That is absolutely wonderful advice. You know, get their blood work done, make sure they're healthy, their levels are coming in good. You know, just like when we get our routine blood work done too, you know, we may sometimes have to adjust our diet if we have high cholesterol or high blood sugar or high sugar, you know, anything like that. So definitely good advice, Tiff. Laura, there you are. You answered my question anyway. It was about the tear staining. Can I find your recipe you posted on YouTube stories somewhere? If you go onto YouTube stories, you should see it. I think it's still there. It wasn't really like, this is how much of this I put in. I just told you real quick what I feed them, and I showed you, and then I showed them eating it, and then I showed you the size of their poops and showed you the color of their poops. I know this sounds bad, but we can tell a lot from the shape, color, and size of our dog's poop. And the smell. If it smells really rancid, it's not good, you know. So Carrie says, do you always use organic meat? I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the session. Also, do you find it helps their breath? Yes, good question. It does. Raw feeding has helped their breath. Also, the cinnamon and turmeric and black pepper that I put in there, that also helps their breath. They don't really have bad breath, and it also helps with their teeth. His teeth actually had a little bit of stuff on it. I didn't do anything. It fixed itself with raw feeding, and I think the turmeric and cinnamon helped with that. It's a good question. So organic meat, do I feed organic? I don't know that it's antibiotic. The chicken I buy is antibiotic free. I know that. I'm not sure if it's organic. We have a chicken factory real close, Bell and Evans. They have wonderful chicken. You guys may know of Bell and Evans chicken. It's shipped everywhere across the United States. It's a really good chicken. So that's where I get their most of their meat. Sometimes I have to give them red meat though, so I'll have to go to this to get beef or something else, you know. Karen says, it's not just that cooked food or raw is better for their health. It's also that my dog gets so excited for his food. How boring would it be to have the same kibble every day? No variety. I'm with you, Karen. Very boring. I don't want that, you know. I don't think they do either. So next week is going to be very interesting, guys. We are going to dive into some labels. Probably talk a little bit more about raw feeding, I think. You know, I'll get some more information together because it seems to pose a lot of questions. So I'll try to get more strict information on what is good to add into your pet's raw meals and why it's good, you know, to give you that idea. And we're also going to dive into the labels on the back of our kibble and our canned food, so that we know how to read them and we know how to pick one if that's what we're going to feed our dogs. Laura says, when you freeze your raw meat for your dogs, do you cook vegetables and add the flaxseed oil and everything before freezing? That's a good question. The only thing I freeze is the ground chicken bone and skin with the organ meat ground in it. That's it. When I go to feed my dogs, I add the vegetables separate in the bowl. I add the egg, and I smash all this up together. I have a Tupperware pre-mixed with the turmeric, cinnamon, and black pepper. I have the flaxseed in the refrigerator. Definitely store your flaxseed in the refrigerator. It can grow mold because it's what is that called? Wheat or something. I don't know. It can. Store that in the refrigerator. Don't keep it out on the counter. So I add that. It's very easy to throw their meals together because the bulk of the work I was doing before I got my meat grinder was chopping the meat. You know, because I'd either have to chop a bunch of meat and freeze it, or chop it, you know, as it was fresh and feed it to them. So that took a lot of that out for me, the work, by having the grinder and grinding the organ meat right in it. And remember, I couldn't get him to eat the uncooked bones, and I couldn't get him to eat organ meat. But when we started grinding it together, and mixing it all together, he doesn't bat an eye at it. So I'm so happy that I purchased that. And now I know he's getting more balance, because they do need a percentage of bone in their meals, and they do need a percentage of organ meat. And now he's getting it. So I'm very happy about that. So I think that answered your question about that. And I don't see any more questions, but I hope this has been educational for you guys. And it's been nice hanging out with you, just talking about food and how it can affect their skin and coat. And I am a firm believer, from the pets I see in my salon, guys, that diet and junk food and treats, some dogs get fed that in abundance. You know, junky foods, treats that are just yucky, sugar. And it definitely surfaces on their skin and their eyes, producing more buildup, in their ears, producing buildup. I don't give my guys any treats. Not that they don't deserve a treat, but I mean, a treat would be like if we had bacon for breakfast, I'll give them a pinch of it, you know, and they think, oh wow, that was a nice treat, you know. But they don't need those unwanted calories that are serving no purpose. They only need good calories in their body. We don't want our dogs to be overweight or obese. They're not going to live long, and they're going to become sick. Why are you doing that? They're going to become sick and unhealthy, and my husband is causing my dog to bark. So anyway, I think I'm going to have to go now and yell at him. But hey, thank you guys for joining me live from my couch. And next week we're going to be talking about reading our labels. So we're going to find out more about what's in pet food and what we should be worried about, and what the effects, the health effects it could have on our dogs. So remember, high carbohydrate can produce a diabetic dog, you know, over time. High blood sugar, high sugar levels in their body over time can just start to cause things not to work, and it'll be a problem. So we got to remember, our dogs are not to eat a high carbohydrate, starchy diet. That's not what they were meant to eat. All right, so let's chew on that for a week, and we'll come back here locked and loaded and ready to talk again. I love you guys too. I'm so glad you're all here. It was wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed the information we shared tonight. I am going to go and fix all the description and the links in the video, the stuff that was supposed to be in this video. So it should all be accurate for you as soon as we get done with our live stream here. So I want to say this is a subscriber showdown for you. I have a video I'm working on releasing Friday about the Ollie pet food. I'm hoping to have it done by Friday, and I think I will be. So look for that one, guys. You'll see that before you see me on Monday. And that may be something that you guys might want to talk about or want to know more about, ingredients and stuff like that. So all just keeping this train rolling, right? This information train rolling. All right, guys, there's a subscriber showdown for you. I love you. I will see you next Monday. Have a wonderful week, and thank you for showing up here Monday, 5:30. Not live from my grooming table, live from my couch. All right, guys, here it is.